succeed at National 5 in languages. So the same applies for all three languages that we teach, French, German, and Spanish. So the first piece of general advice is that the child should be regularly revising vocabulary given during the course. That is on sheets. Usually it's typed lists, but sometimes it will be vocabulary that they've copied by hand. It should be stored in a ring binder folder that they've got. And basically regular revision is just going to help them expand their knowledge, and obviously that expands their understanding of the language. They do need to keep their folder organized. They need to be encouraged to get rid of stuff they don't need. It should be organized in sections as well. The second piece of advice is to use a dictionary for reading tasks when they do these at home, to avoid at all costs using apps like Google Translate. The reason for that is because in the exam, the only tool they have is a foreign language dictionary, and the better they get using this, the quicker they will be, less time they will waste in the exam trying to find words that they don't know. There are 4 skills tested in the exams in languages. Each one is worth 25%, so they're all equally weighted. 2 of the skills, that's reading and writing, are actually assessed in one exam paper. The first exam they will do is actually in March, and that's internally assessed. There's no prelim for it. That's the speaking exam. So that is carried out between pupil and teacher. The final exams, paper 1 is the reading and writing, and the listening is paper 2. So for the speaking exam first, that's held in a separate room. You'll be informed of the date and time of this exam in advance. It consists of a presentation of 1 to 2 minutes. There is then a conversation on a variety of topics that they've done. That part would take about 5 minutes, and it's the pupil that is mostly talking. The preparation for this speaking exam is important. It's a big deal. During the course, they will have written bits of material in the language on the topics that they're doing. For example, it might be on their holidays, as an example. From January onwards, they come back to these bits of writing in their folder, and they use them to prepare, first of all, a presentation. That was the first part of the speaking exam, and then they use them to prepare answers to a range of questions which they may be asked during the conversation. So that would be on various topics. They need to redraft the material and make sure it's of best quality. So the teacher has to check each time they do this. Obviously, then they need to practice and learn. The material is to be basically learned by heart. They are allowed a small amount of notes to support their presentation as prompts, but by and large, they are learning the rest of it by heart. The teachers can record material on their phones. We often do this for them to help with to demonstrate good pronunciation, so they can use that to practice at home. As I said, it's worth a 25% of the total grade, so it's really important that they are well prepared. The reading element, which is assessed, they'll get better at this as they develop their language knowledge during S4. They will already be doing past papers at this stage in classes, and they'll be given bits of past papers to do at home. As they approach the final exam, it's a good idea to do past papers under timed conditions, just so they get the hang of pacing and speed. The writing is tested in the same exam paper as the reading, but it is a different task. They have to write a job application in the language that is to be 120 to 150 words long. In the exam, they are given 6 bullet points. So these are just different aspects they have to include in their application. For example, write about your hobbies and interests which are relevant to the job, or write about your work experience. 4 of these bullet points are known in advance, so we can predict them. However, the last 2 are not known, and pupils prepare for these. They prepare for possible scenarios that they might get, and they do have to memorize the material. It has to be learned before they go into the exam. This means, again, as with the speaking preparation, that pupils must ensure that the material they are learning has been checked for accuracy. For full marks, the accuracy must obviously be good. It must be clearly structured. They need to use content that is relevant and it's well set out, and they must be able to address the unpredictable parts, the unpredictable bullet points. I'll just let you read this. This is just reinforcing what's been said. One thing to add is websites like Quizlet.com and Memrise have been found to be effective by students preparing for the writing exam. It's basically a way of testing yourself and reinforcing your knowledge. Finally, listening is the hardest skill for most pupils. That's obviously listening to the language, chunks of the language, and then answering comprehension questions in English to show understanding. They obviously need good vocabulary knowledge by that stage when they're doing this exam, and understanding of grammar and so on. So what we said earlier on about vocab learning and revision regularly applies to this too. It is also important to actually practice the skill of listening itself. So that can include all sorts of things, like it could be YouTube, it could be radio, online radio, very easy to find. Programs that might interest your child, could be on any topic, doesn't matter. Any form of listening is good, especially if it's something they want to listen to. It's also good to try past papers. You can get access to the last 3 years of SQA past papers online easily. It's also good to look at the transcript. At some stage you can access SQA listening paper transcripts to see what's actually said. It's good to note down vocabulary that they didn't know when they do this task and revise it.